What's up, guys? Welcome back to Biopilot Arms. Today we're going to be talking about the riots in LA. And yes, this is going to be a little bit about guns, but also a little bit about politics, because I think that this is important, and I cannot stand the hypocrisy, and I also cannot stand when people do not understand the nuances of the legal aspects of it and what is going on. Okay, so don't worry, I will tie it into the Second Amendment, but I am going to complain for a minute. So if you don't want to hear that and you want to just hear the tying into the Second Amendment, maybe skip more towards the end of the video and I'll do that. But we're just going to look at this video, and I'm going to just tell you things that you need to hear.
The White House is sending the National Guard to Los Angeles after another day of violent protests between protesters and immigration agents. This video in Compton shows security forces firing projectiles toward the demonstrators. Okay,
a violent protest? There's a word for that. It's called a riot. They're not demonstrators. They're rioters. Can we just please call that what it is? Because protests, according to the Constitution, are supposed to be peaceful.
It sounded like a war zone in downtown LA, with federal agents hurling flashbangs into the air, trying to scatter protesters during an ICE raid.
They are saying they're doing this because they're going after criminals. They're not going after criminals, they're going after workers.
Okay, buddy, so Trump was very clear about what he was going to do. He said that he was going after the criminals first. Not that he was only going to go after criminals, not that he was going to stop with criminals, not that people who were here illegally that were found in the middle of trying to find criminals would just be ignored. No. That's not how it works, okay? He said that we were going to focus on the illegal immigrants who are here that are criminals first, and then go after those. But if you find somebody in the meantime who's not supposed to be here while you're looking for somebody else, you're not just going to ignore that. You're going to take them too.
Multiple ICE raids were carried across Los Angeles. In the fashion district in downtown LA, several workers were detained at Ambience clothing store on Town Avenue. Rosa Ramirez says one of them was her friend.
Sad, because all of us, we have family, and it's really sad. I don't have words. He was only my friend, and I feel bad for him.
When ICE agents arrived in white vans, protesters tried to block them from entering the parking lot. They were quickly pushed aside, and during the scuffle, several people were reportedly injured, including SEIU President David Huerta. Rosa says they were all forcibly removed.
They grabbed anyone that was there. So they grabbed me. First, they grabbed my daughter and pushed her on the fence. I tried to get her, and then the FBI got me from the throat.
Well, yeah, you're trying to interfere with a lawful government operation. You're interfering. You are preventing law enforcement from doing their job. Yeah, they're going to push you out of the way. Like what?
A spokesperson for U.S. Attorney Bill Lassaley says the raids at Ambience locations were conducted to serve search warrants based on probable cause that the employer was using fictitious documents for some of its workers.
Okay, well, that's just fraud. That's illegal. That's a whole different thing. You can't employ illegal immigrants because then they don't pay taxes. They do not contribute to Social Security.
The FBI, the ATF, and ICE agents conducted Friday's raids. The LAPD was present, but Chief Jim McDonnell issued a statement that says in part, while the LAPD will continue to have a visible presence in all our communities to ensure public safety, we will not assist or participate in any form of mass deportation.
And that is exactly why the National Guard is having to come in and aid. Because the federal agents do not have enough manpower to push back protests. They don't have enough manpower to hold back hundreds, even thousands of people while also doing their jobs. Okay, so when you're complaining about the fact that the large amounts of like National Guard are coming in there, and you're like, oh, the military, oh my God, you did it to yourself. If you didn't riot, the agents would not have to have help in doing that. Because if and honestly, if LAPD just helped, then they may not have had to call in the National Guard. But because California is left-leaning and most of the LAPD is also, that's what you get.
I think it's horrible, honestly. I think there needs to be some change because there's no way that this should be all right, that they could just come in and take them whenever they want.
Okay, so here's where I need to delineate two different things for you guys. Okay, she says that they shouldn't be allowed to come in and just take whoever they want. Okay, well, see, they're not allowed to do that. They can't just come in and take a U.S. citizen whenever they want. Okay, they have to have warrants, number one. Number two, in that specific instance, they had the probable cause warrants in order to raid those locations. So they did. Okay, now, why is it that the government does not have to follow the same procedures when it comes to illegal immigrants as it does citizens? Okay, here's why. The Bill of Rights are not granting rights to you and me. They are putting limits on the government and telling the government what the government can and cannot do. So, for instance, the First Amendment. The amendment says that the government may not abridge freedom of speech. It may not oppress the press or quash the freedom of religion, right? That is a limitation on the government. See, that's important. If it granted you rights, that would be different context. But because it recognizes that you have rights and tells the government you cannot do X, Y, and Z, then that means that they can't. But it very specifically says that it applies to the people, meaning who? The citizens and those under the jurisdiction of the United States. Okay? Now, when I say under the jurisdiction, that means a citizen who is beholden to the laws, a citizen who lives here, and or a permanent resident. Okay? So, those of you who are legal migrants here, who have gone through the process, there you go. You're also covered under that. However, because it limits the government against citizens and those under the jurisdiction of the United States, that means anybody who is not a citizen or under the jurisdiction of the United States doesn't fall under the protections of the Constitution. Now, before we go any further, I want to make it clear. I think that everybody has inalienable rights, morally speaking. But if you want to get into realistic expectations of laws and how things work, we have to go based on legal precedent and how it all works and the nuances of law. So while, yes, I think that everybody should have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to own and keep and bear arms, all of that, yes. However, as it's currently written, as it currently stands, illegal immigrants do not fall under those protections because they are not citizens. Therefore, the limitations that were placed on government to say you can't do this to citizens and people that are under the jurisdiction here do not apply. Now, you might be like, well, but there are laws on the books that say what kind of due process illegal immigrants get, and they, have the same type of rights. Okay, but here's here's where we have to get something clear. Congress wrote laws specific to illegal immigrants and those that are here as migrants. Okay? Those laws allowed X, Y, right? But they didn't allow Z. The government specifically carved out Z, being, for instance, how due process works for somebody who's not supposed to be here, and or how to deport them. Okay? So for you and me, if we were to, let's say, break a law, right? Let's say we're these protesters. Let's say that we're these rioters who are throwing Molotov cocktails at the police, which is completely illegal, by the way. The citizen that does that will be arrested, will be put in jail, will get bail, will have a trial set, a probable cause hearing, then a trial, then a jury will decide whether or not they're guilty or innocent, and that is the due process of that, right? But the police have to have probable cause to arrest you, and then they have to have the ability to articulate that in order to put you in jail and to charge you for a crime. That is the process by which a citizen is arrested, and at no point will a citizen be deported because you are a citizen of the United States. An illegal immigrant who is here does not fall under the same process. We have said that the due process that they get, which, side note, due process simply means a process that has been delegated and the process by which something happens, or whatever the fair process is. It does not mean that citizens and illegal immigrants have the same type of due process, because the processes are different. What it means is you get whatever is due to you. A citizen's due process is what the Bill of Rights says. An illegal immigrant's due process is what the statutes that were written by Congress that pertain to the illegal immigrants says. And guess what that says? It says if you're here illegally and you didn't go through the proper channels, get out. That's what it says. Expedited deportations. Okay? So when you're sitting here saying, oh, well, they can't just come get whoever they want, you're right. They can't. They can't do that to an American citizen, but because they're here illegally, they can do whatever they want within the confines of the statutes, which allow a lot more things against illegal immigrants than it does citizens. If you want to change that, then vote for representatives that will change that. But as it stands, everything that ICE is doing is 100% legal and within the power of the federal government.
As the white ICE vans tried to leave the area, protesters blocked their path. One person fell and appeared to be struck. The van kept on going.
People should not be kidnapped. Right now we're seeing a lot of what used to be called fascism. And right now they are kidnapping folks. There's no due process.
Due process is the process by which you are due. It does not mean that each process is going to be the same. So no, they are not kidnapping people, okay? They are deporting people who shouldn't be here in the first place. And if you've been here 10 or 20 years and have not bothered to even start the process, I don't have any sympathy for you because you had plenty of time. I have more sympathy for the people who are here on a work visa who accidentally overstayed their visas because they mixed up dates and they're like, oh crap, I forgot to renew that, and then they get kicked out. Like, because they went through the process and then they were here illegally. I have more sympathy for that than I do people who came here illegally and are doing that. And you know what else I don't have sympathy for? Is the people who are sitting here breaking the laws that are citizens, that are now sitting here and they're throwing Molotov cocktails at the police.
Oh, there it is.
shooting fireworks at police, throwing bricks at the police. I'm sorry, but I find it very hypocritical that they talk about gun laws and how me, as a law-abiding citizen, cannot get a Molotov cocktail without jumping through 1,000 hoops. I can't have a full auto. I can't have any type of weapon that is on the NFA, short barrel rifle, sawed-off shotgun. I can't have any of that stuff. But let's talk about destructive devices for a second. A destructive device, which is what a Molotov cocktail is, or an RPG, or something like that, you can own it, but you have to pay thousands of dollars. You have to pay a $200 tax stamp. You have to fill out paperwork that is a background check, do another set of fingerprints, and then you have to register that item. Now, mind you, when you fill out this paperwork, you can't say, oh, I want 10 Molotov cocktails and register them all in the same form. No. You would have to pay a $200 tax stamp for each. And you would have to fill out the paperwork and go through a background and a fingerprint check for each of them. The tax stamp alone is going to cost you, for 10 of those, $2,000. I don't really know how much the fingerprinting costs. I'm not sure if you have to pay for that or you don't. When I did my concealed carry, I had to pay for it, and it was $10. So let's say, okay, another $200. So you're at $2,200. And then whatever each Molotov cocktail or RPG round costs. If it's an RPG round, you're looking at, man, I don't even know what the retail going price for that is. But let's say Molotov cocktail, because you can make that yourself, right? You can, grab any glass bottle, really, fill it with some type of accelerant. But the thing is, you have to serialize it. So you have to put a serial number on that thing. And then once you throw it and the glass breaks, it's a one-time use. So you just did all of that work for a one-time use item, right? That is what I would have to do if I wanted to make one. These people who tout all these gun laws, who sit here and talk about, well, you shouldn't have this because it's dangerous and it's unusual and this, and that, then turn around and protest a legal operation by doing illegal things, including create, manufacture, and distribute, and then also violently use and try to murder law enforcement officials with the things that they said I shouldn't be allowed to have. How does that make any sense? But then again, it never has. See, criminals, they don't follow the law. It's a real shame. These officers really need to replace all their body armor with, no gun signs. So that way, clearly, if they wear a no gun sign, that protects them from criminals doing criminal things with firearms and destructive devices, right? No, it doesn't. But it boggles my mind, the hypocrisy. And this is why I think that it all should be legal. Not the violence, but owning these items. It should all be legal, because criminals don't follow the law. They're going to make them anyway, but then I'm burdened by the fact that I have to go through that entire process just to get one. Now, it's funny. I did hear a story, though, about a way to make a Molotov cocktail reusable, and that was to use a mason jar that had the metal screw-on lid. And what you do is you serialize that, because that won't break or melt when you throw it. And so theoretically you could reuse that one. But if you were to put the serial number on the glass, then of course you couldn't reuse it. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I would assume it could be, because as long as it's registered and has a serial number, then it works. But that's besides the point. My point is two things. One, none of what the media is saying right now is true. People do not understand why this is happening, why it is legal, and so they are going out there and committing crimes. At the same time, people like you and me, who just want to live their lives, who just want to be free Americans, can't do so because of these same people voting to take your rights away, while then being hypocritical and doing the exact opposite of what they said you weren't allowed to do. These people are evil. These people are hypocrites. And those who are in power that hold these same ideologies need to be removed. You must vote them out. Replace them with people who hold actual American ideals. Okay? Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. That was I just had to get that off my chest. I know that it's not necessarily gun related, but like, I needed to talk about it because it has been bugging me. The hypocrisy, it bugs me. And we can do something about that. In your home state, vote for reps who actually believe in the Constitution and are not... Well, most politicians are hypocritical, but like the least hypocritical ones. Vote for them. Anyway, guys, tell me what you think in the comments down below. Am I spot on? Did I get anything wrong? Do you have a difference of opinion? Like, I don't know, man. I wish that things were different, and the only way to make them different is to vote differently, and also contact your current representatives and pressure them to change laws like the Hearing Protection Act, like the Short Act, like challenging the NFA. Anyway, guys, love each and every one of you. I will see you guys in the next one.